Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nadine, and this is Legally Diverse, a platform I've set up to help aspiring solicitors reach their goal as quickly as possible whilst keeping you motivated throughout the process. So today I'm going to be doing an Instagram live with Christina. Now, Christina and I went to university together, but since then she's become a lawyer and commercial manager at the BBC. So we'll be talking about a range of different things. So from working in-house to also working at the BBC and live as a media and entertainment lawyer. We'll dig into her legal journey from education right into practice and any tips she has for aspiring solicitors looking to go in-house or considering media and entertainment law as an option. So stay tuned and we'll get straight into the video. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Nadine. How are
you?
I'm good. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How's your day been?
I won't even lie. It's been the longest day ever, but we move.
Okay, well, thank you for making the time. So, for those who don't know, Christina and I did study at the same university at undergraduate level, so we know each other for a while, and I kind of attached myself to her from the beginning.
As I have loved.
And we've literally been like really, really close ever since. So I'm really glad that you were able to come and kind of talk about your journey in a bit more detail. So if you don't mind, can you kind of just give people a run through of your legal journey to date? So from undergraduate right up until now, and then we'll go into everything in a bit more detail after.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so of course, started off with going to university for my undergrad. Like you said, we did that together at the University of Leicester.
Yeah.
So that was a very positive experience. It was, of course, the usual, balancing the academic side of things with the enjoyment, with having a good university experience. So yeah, I think that was definitely a great choice going towards Leicester. Obviously, it's a very good school for law. So we did have great tutors and it was a great learning experience, but it was also an opportunity to enjoy everything else that, university has to offer. So yeah, started off at the University of Leicester, did my undergrad there. I then went straight to law school in London at BPP. So of course did a year at law school. And then it was the world of training contracts, trying to... So so I decided quite early on that I wanted to be a solicitor. As you do, you kind of toy between, what type of lawyer you want to be. Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's quite important actually that people know that there are other options. I know you've spoken a bit about paralegaling and also the different routes towards qualification. But yeah, I decided that I did want to go down the solicitor route, which meant that I studied the LPC at law school, as opposed to I think it's the bar course that other people do. Yeah, exactly, BTC to qualify as a barrister. So did my LPC at BPP. And then it was a case of trying to find a training contract. Of course, you do look for that before you go to law school. But I didn't personally have a training contract. So I wasn't one of those lucky few who had a training contract.
The lucky few.
Very few people, It's definitely, you have to grind, if you don't have a training contract lined up. So of course, my time at law school was all privately funded, and then from there continued to apply for training contracts. And for me, I always wanted to work within media and entertainment, so that's when I thought, what, why don't they see what the BBC has to offer? And at the time that I was actually looking into the BBC, they didn't actually offer a formal training contract process. So now, it's all very squeaky clean and
all refined and there.
Exactly, very easily applied to the BBC to train there. But at the time, they were kind of just trying to formulate that process, as were a lot of other in-house institutions, because, historically, it has been law firms who offer training contracts, as opposed to in-house institutions. So the time that I was looking into this, the BBC was just trying to formalize that process. And then what I actually did is I didn't start off doing my training contract. Actually,
Okay.
I applied. I think at the time the role was like a commercial and business assistant or something of that sort. So it was actually quite a junior role at the time, in my eyes anyway, having gone to law school.
Yeah, of course. At that
You
point,
know,
you'll take anything. You just want to
and
learn
this
and
is
experience
it.
and get your foot in. Absolutely.
That is it. Honestly, Nadine, you hit the nail on the end. That's the nail on the head, that sometimes, you know, you have to just be willing to get your foot in the door. And that's exactly the way I saw it. You know, I was like, this is a great institution that I want to be a part of. I just need to get in, and then I can shine and show myself from there. And that's what I did. So I began in that position, and then started doing my homework, talking to people, finding out, and then I realized that they were in the process of trying to formulate kind of the training contract route towards qualification. And then as that was happening, that's when so actually I'm trying to think what way it happened, because it's all quite a long time ago. It's like 7 years ago.
I know, but I just feel like we need the background back.
No,
in a while.
no, it makes sense. It does make sense. And, you know, they always say it's about the journey, not just the destination. So I'm definitely a firm believer in, you know, the journey is super important. So I think what happened was at the time they were already doing CILEx, and they were trying to firm up the training contract process. So I was encouraged to do CILEx and then transfer essentially onto the training contract process. So I was like, that's fine. I was like, okay, can I qualify as a lawyer still? And they were like, yes, you can. So I started doing CILEx, and then did the training.
Didn't know that. Okay.
So I actually did CILEx, and then the training contract process started to be firmed up. So I went through the training contract process, and then did my first seat within my training contract, and then actually merged the two. So actually what I did was I qualified through CILEx.
Look at you, you're just doing everything at the same time. It's so like you, Christina.
That is so hilarious. So in a nutshell, that's what happened, and then here we are.
Nice. Well, it sounds like it's been like a journey, but it definitely sounds like you kind of kept moving, and that's 100%. Something that's always important. Like, I think it's really hard because people do receive rejections, and then they start to doubt, like, okay, should I actually do this? But if you can get your foot in the door somewhere and make the right impression, you'll either get the opportunity you're looking for, or you'll learn enough things that you can then apply to later roles. So,
and this is it. Perfectly said. Yeah.
Great. So let's rewind then and go into a couple of things in more detail. So obviously I know all about your undergrad. So let's talk about from undergrad. So I know you said, like you said, you applied to law firms, didn't get a training contract. So like me, we both kind of just self-funded. We were like, okay, let's just do this. Let's see what happens.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Literally, like invest in yourself, as they say. So you did that, you funded that yourself. What made you decide to apply in-house, or to focus more on growing in-house? Because obviously you do have a lot of law firms that have media departments. So you have RPC and you have DLA Piper. Why did you stop looking in the private practice area, like get a paralegal on there and instead go in-house?
That's a great question. For me, it was really a desire to get specific and tailored experience within media and entertainment. So I had spoken to, you know, people who I knew when I was at that stage, and a lot of them hadn't really had really full-on media experience when working within these law firms. And I think personally, my opinion is that is akin to working in some of the larger firms, that you do go through some stages where you don't really get into the nitty-gritty of the work, and that's all very much part and parcel. That's fine, you know, as you progress, then you of course you have your
experience more, and you get more involved in
exactly. But I from very early on knew that I wanted to work within media and entertainment. And I think, you know, you have two types of people, and neither is right or wrong. You know, you have people who want a breadth of experience, and that's fantastic actually, because, you know, for example, I don't have experience working in employment. I've had to do that along the way because of the nature of the work I do is quite wide. However, I haven't had, you know, full-on experience working within employment. Whereas if you have very varied seats, then you likely are to have more of a breadth of experience. But I was, you know, I was just very intent that was where my interest lied, having studied, you know, a variety of electives at both university and at law school. I was just like, yes, this is where I want to work. And I knew that working within an actual media institution would give me that specific experience. So for me, that was really what pushed me towards that. Exactly. And I think the other side of it was also, if I'm very honest, was work-life balance as well. You know, again, just from personal research, of course, everybody's experiences are different, but for me, there seemed to be more of a work-life balance working in-house as opposed to within, you know, a really massive law firm. And just in terms of myself as a person, I know that I'm balancing quite a lot because I'm
always.
It's like, you know this, you know
always.
this. Exactly. So that was just for me an avenue whereby I could still do the, you know, balance the other kind of business ventures that I was pursuing as well as my legal career. Had I not been doing such a juggling act, then maybe I would have gone down the law firm route.
Practice,
But yeah, exactly. But it just made sense to me at the time.
Nice. I mean, I think we are definitely different in that way because I have like dipped my head and my foot in a lot of different areas of law.
Which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was all criminal, then I thought it was all property, and now I'm like, oh, let's look at competition, let's look at employment, let's look at corporate M&A. So I'm kind of like all over the gap trying to understand what it is I really do want. So the fact that you saw media, studied media and was like, yep, this is it, and you went for the organisation that was going to give you the best exposure to that, it's good. Like, there is both ways to do it. And I don't think, like I said, there's a right way or there's a wrong way. It's just whatever works for you. So, why media and entertainment law then? Why was that your stick?
I think you know this, Nadine. Like, I've had my hand.
But everyone doesn't know this, Christina. So.
Literally, you know, for as long as we've known each other, I've had my hand in events and media and entertainment. You know, I was doing this on a more practical level, hosting events, booking artists for events, and it just made sense for me because that was where my interest was. So obviously I have a passion for media and for entertainment, for events, and for, you know, that industry itself. And I think that's one thing that I will say is that if you do want to work in-house, it's important that you have a real interest in that industry, or else, you know, you won't necessarily have the breadth that is needed to deal with those clients. Exactly. You know, to work in an institution that does a specific thing as a lawyer, you can't just be a lawyer. You really have to have commercial acumen within that specific area. And I think that's actually one of the main things when it comes to recruitment for an in-house institution. It's having that legal knowledge, but also having that commercial business
that passion, that understanding, that
exactly, because you have to understand the industry within which you're working. And that's why institutions like the BBC choose to have in-house lawyers, because the BBC could just say, actually, we'll work with, you know, X, Y, or Z law firm. And sometimes we do for certain things, but generally we have legal teams within every element of the BBC to deal with the issues at hand, because those lawyers are embedded with the team and understand, you know, the everyday workings of that team. Exactly.
Okay. So, great. So, like, media, in-house, great. So, in terms of like your actual training contract, because I know you touched on the fact that you did CILEx, which I definitely did know.
The
fact that you did the training contract in the end, what did that look like? Like, did you have seats? Because obviously in a law firm, people are used to hearing that you sit in 4 completely different areas and then you pick at the end. How does that differ with an in-house role? Well, like you said, BBC is media. How does that work?
So you know what, it's pretty much the same, because in the BBC you have an employment team, literally a legal team that's dedicated to employment. You have a legal team that's dedicated to intellectual property. You have a legal team that's dedicated to litigation, as well as the program legal teams. So you literally do have such a variety of legal teams, albeit that, you know, you may not have like a criminal team, but in a city law firm, you wouldn't, you know, you're unlikely to have that anyway in a commercial city law firm. So yes, all the different legal areas are somewhat linked to media and entertainment. However, you do still quite have a breadth. So for me personally, I did production and I did IP. I did have to kind of like work with other teams, but I didn't actually do formal seats. So
Okay.
that's where the blend between the CILEx and the training contract happened, because I didn't have to do 4 strict seats. However, if one, you know, if anybody was to apply solely for the training contract, then it would be a case of doing 4 strict seats in 4 different departments. So now that process is all formalized and there's no issues. Now the guinea pigs
they
have
did
been,
try,
like myself.
I was literally going to say that. You were doing trial and error with your life.
Yeah. I was one of the guinea pigs that was used very early on, and now we are out of the way.
Good. We love it.
Yeah, the process is really, really straightforward now. So now you either, you know, you can apply via CILEx, or you can apply via a training contract. And then internally, if somebody were to apply for a specific role and then decided that they wanted to qualify as a lawyer internally, they could go for either or, depending on their background. Yeah, exactly. So of course, if you haven't done a law undergrad, or you haven't gone to law school, then you would need to go down the CILEx route. However, if you, like myself, had gone to law school and had a legal undergrad, then you could do either or. You could decide, actually, I just want to do CILEx and not have the restrictions of moving from seat to seat, because some people want to stay within one or two departments. Exactly, like I did. Or you might say, actually, I really want to move around and have different experiences, and then go down the training contract route and have your 4 different seats. Yeah, that's how it works.
I really didn't know that. I legit thought that BBC was just like one big legal team, and you kind of just work on whatever's available at the time. But to know that you have seats,
there's also,
but that's good to know.
So many teams. I mean, even for myself, in my department, there's some things that I will refer to lawyers in other departments. If I'm working on something, for example, so of course, I know we'll go into a bit more about my role, but when I'm working on productions, for example, if there's, like, I have had productions which have gone to litigation, there's been a legal issue that has needed to go to court. Exactly. And I don't litigate. I mean, I could, but we have a very catered litigation team to deal with any cases that go to court, and those are people who, specialize in litigation. So I would prep the case, so to speak, but I would pass it on to one of my colleagues in litigation, exactly, to take that forward to court. So yeah, very, very different legal teams. I mean, even we have a team for data protection, for example.
Nice.
So those are the ones that I can actually think of. But yes, very different legal teams, and it really is important when you have an institution that is so large. You do need
divide it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay, so let's touch on that a little bit more. So obviously you did your 2 areas that you did during your training contract / CILEx. When you got to the stage of the qualification stage, how did you decide what area to practice in, and were you able to change your decision? So for example, I know with some law firms, you can get into a practice area and you may decide to change to a different department if you don't like it or whatever. What was the process of qualification like? How did you decide where to qualify into?
Yes, that was really natural for me, because I had spent basically the majority of my time in the media side of things. So had I, like I said, gone to litigation or gone to employment for a formal seat, then it may have been a less natural decision. But for me, it was a very natural decision. But one thing I would say is that in-house things are so much more flexible than in a law firm. So I know, from friends who have qualified in law firms, again, not to say that either or is better, it's just to, I sound like the advocate for in-house lawyers, but I really don't.
It's okay. It's just to point out your in-house, we can balance this out.
That's not what it is at all, because everything has its positives and negatives. There are definitely some,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. There are definitely some challenges to work in-house, absolutely. Which again I can touch on, but but there's definitely a lot of flexibility. I would say, one, because you don't have as many trainees. Across the board, in-house institutions just tend not to take as many trainees on, because I think because of the nature of the work that we do. So for example, in the BBC, the work is very practical. All our work is affecting transmissions. You know, the end product of our work is on the TV or on the radio, you know, or online. So it's so fast paced that I just think it's just not set up to have as many trainees.
People
and also
training
because
at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And also because historically this is something that law firms have done for a long period of time. So I don't think for that reason there are many trainees in-house. But I'd still think, again, because it's not a traditional law firm type institution, there's a lot of degree for flexibility and for having conversations with your line manager, with your supervisor, as to how you want to take your career forward. And I think it's also about you know, kind of HR recruitment, if that makes sense. You know, it's about, is there actually space in the department to take on an extra body? Is there the funding available? So it becomes more of a recruitment and HR conversation as opposed to, you know, it being like a really stringent process. I would definitely say there's scope for flexibility, which is good. Yeah.
Flexibility is always good.
It is.
Okay, so in terms of like being a media and entertainment lawyer, what does your task look like day to day? And has that changed over time, or do you generally do the same thing even if it's quite broad?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is something that is constantly changing. Oh my gosh. Even now, I don't even think there's one day that's the same. Like, I will get something and I'm just like, where has this come from? Like, how has it been? Like, literally, how has this even emerged? Like, literally, there's so many different things that come up. I think what might be helpful is to kind of distinguish the different sides of the BBC that I've worked for. So I spent most of my career in a team that is called Content, and this is a team that essentially produces programs for UK broadcast. So it's literally your long form content like EastEnders to you know, your series like Luther, Line of Duty, that kind of thing. So I work predominantly on dramas, which is why I've just named a load of dramas.
And Idris Elba in it. I saw you.
That was probably like the highlight of my whole career.
I saw the Instagram post. I was like, okay, girl, you're trying to show us what you're doing.
Literally, I was like, okay, like, you know, my whole time at the BBC is just made now. That's it. That's all I needed.
I'm satisfied.
Literally. And that was quite early on, so that was cool. But yeah, so that's where I spent the majority of my time, in this content team. So I was embedded within the team. So these are the lawyers that work within the team, and essentially we look after the commissioning process. So what a day is a commissioner comes to myself and says, oh, somebody's pitched this really great idea for this program. I really want to commission it and essentially take it from inception to the TV. And then I would take them through the process legally to make this happen. So that involves looking at what kind of funding can be applied to this program. So essentially we have like a formula to essentially work out how much funding can be given to a specific production. So we will go through that. We will put contracts in place with the company who has pitched the program. So that's essentially called a production and commissioning agreement. And that will essentially outline, the terms by which we are commissioning that program. And then there's a lot of business things that are involved in what I do. So health and safety, making sure that the right kind of practical health and safety measures are in place for the production, making sure the right insurance provisions are in place, and essentially just dealing with any queries that come up. So the commissioners will come to myself for advice on like things like copyright and trademarks. So that's where a lot of IP comes into the work that I do. So who kind of owns the trademark for a program and how we're going to credit the program. All of these things have to be agreed in advance. A lot of the work I do is also on the underlying copyrights of a program. So for example, if you see a song played in the program, we need to have, agreed.
It's a lot of details.
It's a lot. Even things like pictures, for example, a lot of the productions I work on, they're like, oh, we really want to put this picture in the shot. And you can't just do that without, having, exactly. So everything you see is a combination on the program, is a combination of so many different contracts and legal issues, exactly, that have to be determined before the program can actually air. So that's kind of like, that's that's the main kind of things that crop up in a day. And that was when I was working on the UK side of things. Now I work on the international side of things. So that's for BBC Worldwide, as you know. So I moved from the domestic side to the international side a couple of years ago.
And that promotion. I'm joking.
Well, yeah, you
Don't know what, this is fine.
To be honest, yes, but also I really just wanted a different experience. I'd worked on the UK side of production for quite a long time, and I really wanted to see how it is to negotiate internationally. And that's again one of the great things about working at the BBC. Like I said, there's so many different departments and you can move around. So I applied for the role to work in World Service and then started negotiating agreements internationally. And essentially this is content, it's still production of content, but content that is airing ex-UK, so in, you know, countries outside of the UK. So the BBC produces languages in, I think, 42 different languages.
The BBC is always there when you go on holiday. It's always the one channel on the TV that you understand.
That's literally it. So yeah, that's literally the work that World Service does to ensure that you can still consume BBC content but outside of the UK. So whether that's the World News Channel that you will see in like your hotels, or if it is specific programs like what we call co-production. So we co-produce with a lot of companies that, you know, exist outside of the UK. So for example, in Nigeria, we have a program called The Gist, which is really popular, and that's a co-production between ourselves and the Nigerian company. And that happens across a number of different countries, and that allows these countries to consume content that is co-produced by the BBC and allows us to really extend our reach, which is what World Service and the international side of the BBC is all about. It's about really extending the reach of, you know, the BBC and UK production. So that side of my work is quite different, because this can involve like things like leases. So I have to do lease agreements for our international bureaus. So we've just where was the last bureau that we opened? So I worked on the one in Abuja, for example, but we have bureaus all across the world. So a lease has to be done for that, for that literal building in the country, and that's how the work just becomes so varied,
broad.
Definitely. Exactly. And a lot of the work I do now is events and things like that. Go for it, Nadine.
Yeah. So with that, then obviously, because your role is so broad, like, okay, you say you do content, but that doesn't just mean media and entertainment. Like I said, it means leases, it means IP. What does training look like during that time? Like, do you have ongoing training in different areas of law? Like, what does that look like?
That's what it is. It's literally ongoing training. Like, so it's a constant balancing act between staying on top of your work and actually doing, the training that we're asked to do. So it's very important. You have to do your training. But yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. But yeah, there is ongoing training. We actually go to law firms for training as well. So the law firms are super important, because the law firms provide the best training, to be honest, especially media and entertainment law firms. And that's where those kind of law firms actually come in super handy. Yeah, because you have, expert partners who have been practicing in specific areas for, a long time. So yeah, that's how we work with a lot of law firms. So actually, a lot of the training that I do are provided by external law firms, but of course we do it in-house as well, because we have a training academy who, in-house, which provides a lot of the training. So yeah, a lot of actually, and I think one thing that is important to understand is a lot of training is done on the job. You're not expected to know everything in advance. Law school and university can only teach you so much. As we know,
I was literally about to say that, and then I thought, okay, I can hear you about to say it. So I'll let you say
it. Literally, it can only teach you so much. Even the training contract is a great foundation, but then even that can only take you so far. A lot of it
continuous development.
Exactly. And I think also learning from other people. I think one thing I would say is that I've worked with some amazing lawyers who, you know, have shared their expertise and their experience with me, and I've been very supported during my career at the BBC, and I know that many places offer great support, and I know for you that was one thing you looked at, you know, when you're going to your world-class law firm now.
You're silly.
You know, you have to actually look at these things, like how much support is your institution or your law firm going to give you, because the worst thing is to feel like you're not supported, especially when you have
that you're actually not learning. Like, no one wants to feel like they join somewhere and they're just kind of in the background shuffling paper or copying, doing photocopy. Nah, you don't want that. You need a firm that's got a very like stringent learning and development program. So yeah, that's definitely important.
Exactly. Agreed.
Okay, great. So there was a question I had. Oh gosh, there was a question I had. Okay, so yeah, this was a question I had. And a question that actually came in twice as well, my DMs. Thanks, guys. It's obviously known and it's said a lot that people join in-house or move in-house from private practice because of the whole work-life balance thing. Yeah. Like a lot of firms get the reputation of like doing all-nighters and early mornings and stuff like that. And people assume or people think that being in-house literally means 9 to 5, clock out 5, I'm good. Like,
no,
is that really true? Or
that could not be furthest from the truth. Oh my goodness. Like literally that is so far from the truth. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was literally saying before this call, I might be working late tonight.
Oh, sorry looking for you, but thanks.
No, of course not. No. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That is not the truth. It's not a 9 to 5 job. In fact, for me personally, because we like the BBC broadcast 24/7. So although I'm not a duty lawyer, so we have lawyers who, you know, pick up your queries at midnight, you know, who are there to specifically do that. That's a duty lawyer who's there, you know, doing unsociable hours. So that's not my role. However, we do have to respond to queries that can come, you know, at any time. So for example, I get a lot of emails that literally are titled in bold letters, broadcast critical. And
that means don't ignore it. That's what that means. You must open me now.
Ignore it. Exactly. So if something is going to be broadcast that night and there's a legal query about it, then I have to attend to it. And that means that I'm not clocking off at 5 o'clock. You know, so it very much depends on the nature of the advice that is needed. But yeah, if a TV program is going to be broadcast that night, then 9 to 5 doesn't mean anything. You know, you have to attend to, you know, what it is that needs to be advised on, especially if there is a legal issue, or we may be you know, planning to broadcast something and then we get like a claim that comes in just before and we have to assess, you know, whether it's
valid and whether this broadcast can even go on.
Exactly. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that crop up which doesn't necessarily allow us to work 9 to 5. And also the nature of the work that we do is very project driven. So if I'm working on something that's really intense, then I know that, you know, I'm going to have to put in more hours and work slightly later. But the good thing is that comes in peaks and troughs. You know, sometimes the work is lighter. So it was very intense for me going towards year end, because all of the departments that I managed wanted to spend their budget. So they have production budgets. So they want to use that money before it essentially disappears. You know, the license fee doesn't just sit in the, you know, in a pocket.
Racking up, it has an expiry date.
Exactly. So they had to use their money before year end, and that means it was busier. So yeah, it can be. It's a myth.
So I was just about to say, so guys, it's a myth.
It's a myth. It's a myth. However, actually, I will say though, but you don't have things like, you know, so okay, you will hear stories, and these are very true, of, you know, people having to work till like midnight or later than that, and showering, you know, sleeping at work and showering in the morning, or going and having a taxi pick them up. You don't really have that in-house, you know, so you don't have the craziness that sometimes goes on in law firms. However, I will say that people do play down, you know, how much work is required in-house.
Exactly. Definitely. I mean, even I definitely have heard that. I definitely know that to be true, that like I said, you can work crazy hours in law firms. But hopefully, guys, because of COVID, at least we can work late from home. It's not every day.
Exactly.
2 a.m. in the office, sometimes 2 a.m. at home. So
yeah, and that's
hopefully that has changed.
Okay,
so are there any other myths that are not true about in-house, or anything that you've learned whilst working in-house that you didn't know before?
That's a good question. Are there any other myths? No, I mean, if anyone has a myth, then please share, and I can, tell you whether I'm going to bust it or, whether it's true. Exactly. But yeah, just in terms of what I've learned, I think it's just clear that you have to, as well as building your legal knowledge, you really have to build your understanding of the industry. So I have to kind of keep abreast of what is actually going on within the media industry, who are the key players, what are our who are our competitors, and just have a genuine desire and keep growing my knowledge within media and not just the legal side of things. So I would say increasingly I'm spending less time reading law books and more time reading,
media content,
literally reading media content. So my subscriptions are balanced between the legal subscriptions and the media kind of broadcast subscriptions. So it's just, that's what I've learned, that it's really important to stay abreast of the two of those sides of the coin.
Okay, so if people are interested in media and entertainment law, where would you say that they can start reading things and looking into things? Where would they start to look? Because obviously it's not as easy to get media law experience like it would maybe criminal law experience, but you just walk into court. Where can people start to read more and understand more about media and entertainment?
I would say sign up for things like Broadcast. So literally there's a publication called Broadcast, and that's definitely one of the best things. And also just kind of read the media side of newspapers. So if you're gonna sign up to not plugging the BBC, but if you're gonna sign up to BBC News,
plug it.
Yeah. You can actually, tailor your subscription so that you're getting media, kind of media updates. So I would say, just tailor, even things like the Financial Times. I think that's so important across industries. And again, you can tailor your subscription so that you're getting the right kind of content. So ensuring that you're getting IP content, media content. Those are all the kind of things that prove helpful in the
protection, employment.
That's it.
That's what people call the sexy area of law. Media and entertainment is meant to be the sexy. I've heard it.
You know what? The good thing is that it's a nice breadth, isn't it? I mean, of course, if I would only go into it if you're genuinely interested in that area of law. But if you are, then it is a nice kind of breadth of different experiences. So there are some perks, but there's you find the perks in anything, and as a lawyer you always have to use every experience to your advantage. So
of course.
Exactly.
Of course. Okay, so that's good. I'm glad we touched on that. I think is there any general advice you'd give to people that are looking to either go in-house or go into media and entertainment law or apply for the BBC?
Yes, I would say just really be flexible. Like I said, my route wasn't necessarily straightforward, I definitely had some curveballs and had to be quite flexible. So if you are trying to get a training contract, for example, be open to other opportunities that may be available. Sometimes, like I said, it is just about getting your foot in the door. So don't look at an opportunity as, beneath you, because that may be, your opportunity to get in and work your way up, or to meet the right people. For me, I met people that really championed me and saw my potential, and that was really helpful. And if I had just got my foot in the door, then that may not have happened. So I think that would be my advice, is that, especially in looking at big institutions, not just the BBC, I think it's quite the same for other institutions.
Definitely.
There's obviously going to be some, bureaucracy involved, and sometimes it is just a case of getting your foot in the door, and also just having an understanding of the different routes to qualification. It's not just the traditional routes to qualifying as a lawyer that exist, like we've spoken about. So I would say seek advice, speak to people, reach out to people, and make sure that you're informed so that you can do the route and take the steps that really work for you as a person.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think because people get so like trapped, and we've always been told training contracts, and I guess now SQE, we don't take time to really understand and explore what our options are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So it's really, like, I'm sure I said it before, it's really big for me that people understand what their options are before they give up on an area of law just because they didn't get a training contract, because training contract is not the only way, guys.
It really isn't.
And I think, I can't lie, after last year, that was my last time. I thought, this is the last time I'm flying, guys. This is the last time. After this,
and look at you now. And so, look at you
guys,
now.
Please don't give up. Don't give up. CILEx was the way you were looking to go. It's only because the BBC opened up a different route that you're able to change. And either way, you would have been working at the BBC because you would have been qualified. So
honestly, and you know, different routes can actually ultimately work out better for you and give you what you actually need. So yeah, I think that's also a myth, you know, that if you take a certain route or whatever, then that isn't, you know, good enough. But I think as long as you're clear on your final goal and you're clear of the route that you need to get to that goal, because of course you shouldn't let anyone sidetrack you from what you are trying to achieve. As long as you know you are informed and you've got the information that you need to, you know, get to that goal, then absolutely, by all means, take a few twists and turns. Yeah, as long as you get there.
Any tips for the SQE route, like the training route that's now, in terms of application form maybe, or anything like that?
Yeah, one thing I would so key is understanding what the media industry is and what that comprises of. So like I said, I was interviewing today, and I have been throughout the week, but for the legal interns, and of course, the, you know, interning, you know, these are university students in most cases, and they obviously don't have as much working experience, but it's still so important to understand the industry that you're going into and to do your research. So that's what I would say, is really just understanding, you know, what sorts of services the BBC offers and what the media industry at large is, because of course you have a number of competitors within the, you know, the media industry. So yeah, really just understand what is the media industry and what does the BBC offer. Do research into the BBC, and also watch BBC programs. And if you don't, just go and make it up. You can't be coming to tell us about Netflix programs. We all know.
No.
You know, we love Netflix. Like, let's keep it real, you know. But
that is BBC, so true.
Yeah, you really have to show passion for BBC programs. So even as I know, for me at the time, you know, 7 years ago, or you know, 6 years ago, it was EastEnders. You know, not as many people watch EastEnders now.
I still watch it, guys. I still watch it.
Before, my family, literally every Christmas, everybody was watching EastEnders. No, like, that's when everyone would come together to watch EastEnders.
The Stacey and Bradley days, the Max days, the Nadine days,
literally. So you have to be able to talk about these things with passion. So I would say, firstly, understanding the media industry at large, understanding the BBC, and also having a passion for what we do and the programs that we offer, and also really understanding some of the kind of more topical issues that the BBC are facing. So for example, now we're obviously operating within the pandemic, and that has really affected the work that we do. Some of our programming has kind of dropped. There was a period of time where, for example, EastEnders went down from, I think, 4 days to 2 days. I think even, you know, it wasn't even showing. That is a practical impact of the pandemic. We had to buy a load of ready-made programs to put into our schedule because we couldn't produce content as much. So it's really just understanding some of the issues that faces the BBC as a global organisation. Impartiality is really topical now, and the balance between impartiality and, you know, racism and online abuse and all of those sorts of issues. There's a lot going on in the media, so you have to come ready to really, you know, understand some of these issues. Of course not fully, but at least engage with some of these issues.
Be able to have some type of conversation. Do you know what I mean? You don't want someone to argue and you have no idea.
That's it. Definitely. And that's what I think really will make a candidate stand apart, is somebody who engages with these sorts of issues, because that shows a level of work that other people may not do. So yeah, that's some advice I would give.
No, That's great advice. I think I don't even work with BBC, obviously, but
Yeah.
even before, I was applying for a paralegal role at Warner Brothers, and I had my application got through, had a telephone interview, I think, or something like that. And one of the questions they asked me is, what's your favorite Warner Brothers film? And what's your favorite Warner Brothers program? And I was like, what?
Like, yeah.
Luckily, I did have an answer. I can't lie, I don't know what the answer was at the time, but I did have an answer. But it just lets you see that because these are businesses, do you actually know what the business is putting out? Because if you don't, then you can't act like you actually want to work with them, because what we're producing, you're actually not watching. So yeah, definitely.
And this is it, you know, if you're not passionate about it, absolutely, then yeah, it's difficult to really engage.
Absolutely. I think that's all the questions we had. Thanks so much, Chris. It's been a great live.
You are so welcome. I hope it's helpful. I think I did see. Okay, just a question. Do you need the LPC to get a training contract at the BBC? So I think this has changed. Previously, you did need an LPC, but now I believe they're funding it. So I can let you know the answer, Nadine, if you want to share it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, previously, when I was the guinea pig, you needed to come ready with your LPC. But I think now they're funding it. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I did miss your questions. I'm glad Christina saw it.
No,
there was 2 questions around like funding and law school and fees and stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll definitely look into that for you, and I'll drop it on my Instagram. Definitely. Guys, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I missed your question. I'm so sorry. I'm scrolling now and I'm just seeing it all.
What sort of work does the BBC in-house legal team do with external law firms? A lot of the work we do with external law firms, apart from the training element of things, which I touched on, is around auditing. So we do work with external law firms, and then also like your PwC's kind of consultancy to do a lot of our audits. We have actually worked with external law firms on litigation, so sometimes we might get a little bit of advice from another law firm if it's a big litigation case. You know, I won't name any names. But
we don't. Please don't name any names. This may go on YouTube. Don't name any names.
So strictly NDA. So if it's a big litigation case, sometimes we would get some advice in that respect too.
I think I saw something when I was reading about this scheme that they had. Oh God, what have I done? Okay, yeah. The scheme that they had where they said that sometimes you can do external placements during like the training contract, SQE type, like training side of it. What does that look like?
Yeah, you can do a seat in an external law firm. So we've had actually a lot of trainees who have come in from other law firms. So they tend to come in from like media law firms like Olswang. We have a lot of trainees coming from Olswang. I think Olswang has actually merged now. I'm trying to remember what
they have. I have a friend that was working there.
Their name has I can't remember as well. So they tend to come from like your media or at least a commercial kind of type of law firm, and then they're just embedded in our legal team. So a lot of them sit in like my team. We regularly have trainees, and they just get involved in the commercial media and entertainment everyday work that we do. And of course, because they're coming from great law firms, they're really great in terms of just getting stuck into the work
and hitting the ground running and stuff.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I will say is so clear from trainees that come from such great law firms. They have been given really good training, and they come correct, so it's good to see. So that's again that's a plug for the law firm side of things, that the standard is clearly there, which is great.
Perfect. So you have people from law firms coming in. Does anyone from BBC maybe go out to other law firms?
So it works both ways. Literally, we get one in, one out. So it works both ways.
Exchange program.
Exactly. Literally. So it works both ways.
Thanks so much, guys, for your questions. Does the BBC offer like vacation scheme type experiences? So I guess that's like the intern type thing maybe you were talking about.
So we've actually just started, so that's what I've been interviewing for, and I think my understanding is that this is the first year we've actually done it. So maybe they used to do it years ago, but may have stopped. So I don't know when the next intake is going to be, but currently it's a 3-month internship.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's going to run.
So it's not like this 2-week vacation scheme, it's a proper internship.
I think it's 2 or 3 months if I remember correctly. Okay. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but yeah, it's pretty substantial, and it really is there to help people get their foot in the door. So yeah, really great that these internships are now on offer. And actually, if anyone who isn't, you know, necessarily somebody who doesn't necessarily want to go down the legal route, there are other really great internships as well, and apprenticeships within journalism and within production, and of course the legal ones too. So yes, there are internships that are available, which is synonymous with the kind of vacation scheme.
Nice. So like the ones you're interviewing for them for now, that recruitment process has stopped, right? It's not like you're interviewing okay, stopped.
At the moment, okay. But I think they're going to make it more frequent because there was such a massive uptake for it. Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah,
I've honestly learned so much. I feel like we've spoken about media and entertainment law so much, and I've been there throughout your journey. Like this,
literally
latching on, but I didn't know half of that, so that was so good.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And I know you're going to have a long night, but we've all really appreciated you and your time and your gems and your insights. So thanks, Chris.
No problem at all.
So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching my live. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it informative. We wanted to make sure that we kind of delved into a lot of different areas, and we spoke about some of the contrast between working in private practice and working in-house, and how you can start to gain experience in media and entertainment law or develop your knowledge and interest in the area. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share with your friends or anyone else that you think may be interested in the content. Drop in the comment section below what you found most useful, any tips that you found most helpful, and also if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!